Welcome back to KMI Community Connect viewers. Thanks for tuning in. Today we are going to be talking about the obesity assessment part 3. We have discussed about the height and weight and thereby getting a BMI from that measurement in the part 1. And in part 2 we discussed about the waist measurement. And these two are essentially kind of easy for you to do at home by yourself without much professional help. But today what we are going to talk about is much more involved in terms of proficiency as well as help with the professional help to do what we are going to be talking about, which is body fat percent measurement. Body fat percent measurement is actually very widely variable, especially for those people who are with similar BMIs. You know, you can have from 25 to 30 with the same BMI or 30 to 35 with wide variance in the percent of fat. So if you look at it here, somebody can have a percent of less than 5% of body fat to all the way up to 70% body fat. So what does it depend on? How does this happen? Is first, if you want to measure the body fat percent, then we need to know what is the fat free mass, which is the mass that is free of body fat. So for that you have to have a better understanding of what is called as body composition. So when you get this body composition, we'll have a better understanding of exactly how fat and the non-fat mass will affect and help us. Why is this important? Because it's not just for how much fat a person has, it is also for when somebody is trying to lose weight at the wrong areas, or when somebody is trying to be on a program to get to a healthy weight. Then we need to know whether they're losing it wrongly by in a wrong way, in an unhealthy way, by losing either things which are not the fat. So to understand that, first if we know what the total body mass is, which is TBM, there is a percent of fat, then there is a percent of bone, then we also have a percent of muscle, and we have what is important called as water, which is about 60% of body weight on an average. Now there's a wide variance in the water composition in when you see in lean people, the muscle as well as the internal organs almost constitute about 75% of water, whereas in very heavy people with lot of obesity, the water percentage is as less as 40%. This is very interesting. We will talk about this more soon. So to understand about what this total body mass, which we know all these four components, what the body is made of. So if you want to know the fat mass, then you subtract the lean body mass from the total body mass. So what is lean body mass? Lean body mass, or in other words loosely fat free mass, is muscles, bones, ligaments and tendons that actually support the joints and for the attachment, and also the internal organs, the solid internal organs and the water. All this makes up the lean body mass. So if you subtract the lean body mass from the total body mass, then we get what is called as fat mass. So how do we get these measurements? We are going to talk about it, but I'll first start talking about fat percentages and numbers. These are general guidelines like all the numbers that I've given you before. These are not like if you are off a little bit then you're unhealthy or healthy, but these are general guidelines. So let's start with obesity. In men, if you have more than 25% of fat, they are considered obese, and in women, if you have more than 32% of fat, they are considered obese. Women in general have at least about 7 to 8% more fat for the way they are made of. They basically have a role for reproduction, pregnancy, lactation and feeding. So the nurturing effect of the nature has given women about 7 to 8% more than men. Now Let's go to these other categories of what is essential fat, what is an acceptable fat, which is a healthy fat, what is the fitness level fat, and what is a fat percentage for athletes. You don't have to remember these numbers per se, but just remember that for every 5% more, you get better and better as you go leaner and leaner. So if you have to have an acceptable fat, for men you have to have anywhere between 18 and 24%, and for women it's 25 to 31%. That's a healthy fat. And then if you add 5% to that, if you take away 5% to that, then you become to the fitness level, which is 14% to 17% for men and 21 to 24%. And for athletes, take another 5% off. For men it is 6 to 13%, and for women it is 14 to 20%. But beyond all this, we also have to remember the most important thing that is important for everyone, which is the essential fat. The range for women is 10 to 13%, and the range for men is 2 to 5%. The essential fat is the most important fat is very important at the right areas, and there's a lot of individual variance. There's a personal fat threshold for many people, but these are just some general guidelines. Now, how do you measure the percent of fat? This gets a little bit more tricky and complex. There are many methods, and no testing method is accurate. There are always limitations and problems because of let's say accessibility, economics, which can be prohibitive sometimes, and it can also be from reproducibility point of view, and also accuracy. So not everything fits into everything. I'm going to generally give you some guidelines of various things. I'm going to mention some names which you may or may not be familiar. You don't have to remember all the names, but I'll explain a little bit of physics and how the body fat percentage is calculated, just for your understanding, to know that what is out there for people. So the first important thing that I said was like a DEXA scan. DEXA scan is almost like an X-ray machine, and it is the gold standard. I put 2 stars here because it measures the fat percent. It actually gets the water content, the bone content, and then the muscle content and the fat content. You must have heard this name when women and men get this testing when they try to get the bone scan for let's say for osteoporosis and bone thinning and things like that. So similarly, you can also get the fat and muscle, because if you get the body composition, you get the fat and muscle by the math and calculations. So this is the gold standard. This is reasonably affordable. This is available at any big facilities, healthcare centers, medium-sized facilities. Not very expensive, reasonably affordable. But the problem could be if the size of the person is very big, sometimes it can be difficult to do that. The next one, which is a bioelectrical impedance analysis. This is actually this is not as accurate as the DEXA scan, like a gold standard, but this is more works on the principle of that the water conducts electricity, and it basically what it does is when you stand on a machine, and then the electrical impulse flows through one end of the body to the other end, and when you have more water, then what happens is the water allows more current quickly. So when people are lean and muscular, there is more water that allows, because water is inside the muscle more. Fat doesn't have much water inside, so fat acts as an impedance, which is like a resistance to the free flow of electric current, whereas if you are muscular, it flows freely. So that's the kind of physics where you get to see how the current impulse is flowing through your body through the water. If you are more lean, it moves faster. That's how you calculate the inside cell water, outside cell water. Then you also see how segmentally the fat is distributed by formula. It's easy to do. However, it's not as accurate as DEXA, but it is easily affordable. It's out in the field where a lot of places purchase this because it's more affordable, even though the accuracy is fairly good, but not as good as DEXA scan. Coming to the other ones, the calipers is a technique where you use measuring calipers in 7 different sites of the body. This is not that accurate. There's a big wide variance of almost getting let's say about 8 to 9% of error either way. You can either underestimate or overestimate. It's very user or technique dependent, so we have to be very careful. So this is cheap, but at the same time it has its own disadvantages. And we have to use also a formula to get the body not body composition but body density, and then use it's kind of a little bit cumbersome to do this. It's not a ready-made thing like you just go stand like a bioelectrical impedance and then get the results. The next thing, I'm going to talk about these two before I come to the hydrostatic and BOD-POD measurements. MRI is the best. It is the gold standard, even better than DEXA scan, but it is very expensive. It is not practical. We cannot do it. It's only used in some places where there is availability for research purposes, and also it is it's essentially, the advantage of this is for the visceral fat, like we talked about. It tells and localizes where the fat is under the skin, inside the organs, around, and all that. So it's a perfect test, but it's very expensive, not practical. And it's used only in some centers for clinical studies, research purposes. Radiologists usually report this because while they do MRI for other purposes, they see the fat, so they do report it now and then, but it's not done that routinely, commonly for fat assessment, while it is very good. So that's a disadvantage. CT scan is somewhat similar, but the problem is radiation, and I don't think that is also used because of the problem with radiation. One more important fact about DEXA scan, since the radiation, I have mentioned about radiation, DEXA scan is also like an X-ray, but the radiation that you get is very less. It's almost less than 5% of radiation. So it's almost like traveling in an international flight. So I don't think it's a problem to get a DEXA scan. Maybe if you're checking it every 6 months or 1 year, if you're on a program to lose weight, to see where you're losing weight and all that. These two are important. I'm going to be briefly mentioning, but I'll talk mostly about the science of this. It's not that frequently used. The first one that I'm going to talk here, in fact this one that you see with the number 4 here, hydrostatic, which is underwater measurement. The name itself says that, which means how the principle works is muscle is much more heavier underwater because muscle is more filled with water, and then fat is much lighter. So the person who is more heavy is going to be having more fat, so he's going to float, so fat floats, and people who are muscular are going to be more heavier than they weigh on the land, so they sink. So muscle sinks, fat floats. So that's the principle. The principle is also kind of, it works on the buoyancy, where how much fluid you displace. So you weigh yourself outside, you go inside, and then you weigh it, and then with the same kind of mathematical density formula that you use for calipers, which is also for this one that I'm going to talk about, you come to an assessment. This is an old technique which used to be a gold standard, but we don't use it. It is only used in some places. It's very cumbersome, it's inconvenient, even though it's accurate, and DEXA scan has replaced pretty much the hydrostatic underwater measurement. I'm also going to mention about what is called as BOD-POD. You don't have to worry about the full form, but it works on the same principle, but instead of water, it is going to displace the air. You sit in a chamber, it's easy. It's kind of okay, not that accurate, but okay, but it's kind of difficult for it's slightly expensive for the facilities to buy, just like DEXA scan, not that much in use. So to make it very easy, the most commonly used gold standard is DEXA scan, and the even much more commonly used, even though it's not that accurate, is bioelectrical impedance analysis. So to summarize, basically fat-free mass, which is the muscle mass, which is muscles, bones, and water, is what everybody desires. So the more muscle, the more water, and then the more bones is what everybody looks for, and by subtracting it you get the fat percentage. And so this is a little bit more complex and you need more help. So I just wanted to explain to you about the concept of how the body composition works. I will talk to you very soon about a summarization of all the 3 assessments that I did in my next talk very soon. I look forward to talk to you very soon. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.